Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of April 17th to the 23rd of 2023. All right, so a very important week astrologically. Two very important things. We have the solar eclipse on Wednesday and Thursday, starting a very important shift to our life path. It is going to be right in between Pisces and Aries sidereally, so it is, as it has been, a good time to connect more to our receptive side, but this is really starting to get integrated into our more active side, into the physical world, as then the sun will shift into Aries around Saturday. And so Aries is, coming out of Pisces after reconnecting with our soul a bit, then starting to embody more of this new self emerging, this new beginning to the Zodiac cycle, as Aries is the first sign. So with this, the other very important thing is that Mercury is going retrograde on Friday, just after that solar eclipse. That's also going to be in Aries, and so there is a reflective period now these next few weeks in regards to how we're thinking about things, how we're approaching things in our day-to-day life. And it's just good to be a bit flexible and adaptive during that retrograde. All right, so those are the most important things. We also have some other minor aspects. So let's go and take a look at all this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here's the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, April 17th. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky on this channel, which is very different from mainstream astrology. Unfortunately, mainstream astrology does not use the visible sky. Even other forms of sidereal, like Vedic, still don't use the actual size of the constellations. So you will notice a lot of the signs are different from the other mainstream forms of astrology. So if you are new, definitely check out the link down below for more information on using the visible sky, called True Sidereal Astrology. All right, so this week we have the ending of the current lunar month as we do approach that Wednesday and Thursday time period. We do have all the planets kind of staggered in different signs, and most of the shifts that are happening here are about midweek with that solar eclipse and Mercury going retrograde here. But let's do a little bit of a recap coming into this week. The sun is finishing Pisces. Again, the solar eclipse will be right in between Pisces and Aries. And so in many ways, we are finishing up what has been a very, long time, month and a half roughly, of cultivating more of our receptive side, getting more in touch with our soul, basically, and, approaching life in a way that's perhaps more soul guided. And so, of course, that's still great to do, especially as we approach that eclipse, again, ending the current cycle. This is the balsamic moon, where the energies are really dying down, and it is good to then do that reset around that midweek's solar eclipse there. But it is going to immediately shift into Aries with the sun going into there on around Saturday, but the new moon being very close to Aries as well, getting more into that again in the world energy. Aries is all about taking action and initiative with things. It's more of the physical self, more of the physical ego, if you will. It represents our physical identity, our own personal needs, our desires, the things that we want, we're driven towards in life, and it's much more active like that. So there is going to be that shift there. And Mercury is going to go retrograde on Friday, but there is a lot of this fiery energy still going on, especially right now, and as it has been last week, in regards to our communications, and in regards to how we're thinking about things. There certainly is that fire with that, as there already has been. Venus well placed here in Taurus, her own sign. So when it comes to our values, enjoyments, and relationships, there's just a nice grounded energy. And I think it's a great time to be taking things slowly and steadily, and it can be perhaps a bit easy to do so, or just enjoying life in a more slow and steady, stopping to smell the roses sort of way. But Mars is very well set now, and Gemini has gained almost his full momentum here after that retrograde period. And so he is, full steam ahead. And he is in the constellation of Gemini, which is very much about learning, much like that Mercury energy. So again, we see the fire here when it comes to our mind and communication matters. But yeah, a lot of directness, assertiveness in those communications, in learning, using our practical minds. That's certainly still emphasized for the coming weeks as well. All right, so let's go ahead and break this down for each day of the week. And let's go and start with Monday. So the Monday, the moon does shift into Pisces to again gear up for the ending of the lunar cycle. And so this was the energy of the previous month. The previous lunar cycle was about developing Pisces, again, connecting more with our soul and doing things that are more receptive, receptively, spiritually important to us in life. And so that's a great way of working with really this whole first half of the week, approaching Thursday, is letting the energies die down and connecting with that soul and perhaps finalizing some things here that were about doing so. Whatever there was this past month in that context, we could see the finalizations of a lot of that. Okay, but moon in Pisces both Monday and Tuesday, and that's going to be the main events as we approach the solar eclipse. No other aspects going on these first few days of the week here. All right, so when we do get to the later part of Wednesday and early Thursday, we'll be in that eclipse energy. And I will, of course, make the separate video on this, but transitioning from the receptive qualities into the more fiery qualities, from water into fire. And that's going to be a big symbol of this solar eclipse. Of course, the eclipses are always associated with the nodes, the life path. That's what makes them an eclipse. The north and south nodes are the intersecting paths of the sun and moon. And so we will have the eclipse here, which is very much about a new beginning to our life path. We have about 2 of these every year, solar eclipses. And it really is very important to new beginnings. So listening, seeing what new does come about Wednesday, Thursday. Again, how can we incorporate some of that connection with our soul that we've had to then pursue perhaps more active things in our life, our goals, our initiatives, more self-assertiveness, all that kind of Aries stuff is fantastic, and challenging ourselves to do so. The North Node is definitely, I think, easier to work with than the South Node eclipses, and so in this context, setting some intentions there to do that can be great, a little bit on the easier side to do so, and being a bit intentional, I think. The North Node is the path in front of us. It is the more physical self. We don't want to build too much karma, of course, but it is easier in the sense that it deals with more physical types of things. So, incorporating more of that fiery nature, setting intentions around that, making some shifts and changes along our life path to do so, I think is great. Now, the solar eclipse will be conjunct Jupiter. Again, I'll go over all this in the solar eclipse video, but there is still a bit of expansiveness and open-mindedness available. And the eclipse will be squaring up to Pluto, though, and in fact, the sun will be squaring up to Pluto exact on Thursday. And that can be a bit challenging collectively. So Pluto is all about the ego death. And while there is this now time to incorporate more of our ego, that Aries, that fire, our needs, to do so in a way that is non-attached. I think there will be a testing, here with this to make sure we aren't too attached to ourselves, to what we want. And I think recognizing that there is, of course, so much more to life than just our own ego pursuits in life. And so being a bit non-attached, being, willing to see things a little bit differently, perhaps release some control. Pluto really brings out a lot of our more instinctual side, the side that, needs to survive, has security blankets, fears, inhibitions. It's important, of course, to have, those, sort of attachments in life. But there are, of course, ways that we can pursue the things that are important to us and at the same time be non-attached to them. So a little bit of that practice, I think, can be great here around the Thursday time period in particular, because the sun will be squaring Pluto exact at that time. All right, but all in all, listening, it is the lowest energy of the lunar month. Again, really the solar year in many ways, with the sun transitioning from Pisces to Aries. You could even say that the eclipses are times of new yearly energies, since we only have really one solar eclipse with the North Node every year. There's 2 solar eclipses, the other one's with the South Node. But this is in many ways, for multiple reasons, new beginnings in the yearly sense. And so I think just listening to what new arises, recognizing that it is the lowest energy, and the momentum is just slowly building out of that. Plus, Mercury is going to be going retrograde. So as we do get to more into the Friday time period, Mercury will be stationed. And, this is going to be starting the next 3 weeks of perhaps approaching things a little bit differently. And so, although there are these new beginnings, I think it's important to be open to trying different things out, experimenting. New moons are great to do this, but Mercury retrogrades especially. Go back and re-edit some things, redo some things. Maybe there's something from the past that you're going to go implement, and so that could be a good time to do so. But again, with a plan A, B, C, and D, as oftentimes information changes, things change. Usually more supportive for redoing or editing during the retrogrades, but just being flexible nonetheless, I think is great. And just kind of pausing around this Thursday, Friday time period to see what is shifting. Mercury does rule not only our minds and communications, but really our day-to-day lives and routines, with Mercury ruling Virgo. And so station's good to slow down with the day-to-day stuff, with what we're thinking about, and just kind of start to see what could be reflected on or redone or approached a little differently for the next few weeks. All right, everyone, so that's the most concentration of energy there. The moon will be in Aries, of course, just after that solar eclipse, up until about the late Friday time period. And then the moon will be in Taurus for the whole rest of the weekend. So the weekend is good for, again, taking things a little bit slowly and steadily. That's going to be activating that Venus side of things a little bit. So enjoying the simple life, maybe connecting to nature. Again, taking things one step at a time is really good for that weekend, especially just building this new momentum here. And just a minor note, Mercury will be sextiling Mars. So there is, again, that fire with our mind and communications. And so there's just a bit of an opening to maybe do so in a little bit of an easier sense, maybe a bit of an opportunity to take a bit of that proactive approach to those matters. But nothing major, just an opening to connect a little bit more of that fire there. All right, everyone, so that is the week in a nutshell. Quite simple in the description in that we really only have 2 major things going on, but a very important week for the year, really. And so ending the current lunar month, and we could even say the solar year from the astrological standpoint here, letting the energies die down, especially with the sun finishing Pisces, reconnecting with our soul there. Then around the new moon, Wednesday, Thursday, solar eclipse, Wednesday, Thursday, just being receptive, seeing what new does arise here, and slowly setting some new intentions and just building a little bit of momentum coming out of that. Being flexible with that Mercury retrograde so close to the new moon, trying new things and experimenting is great. And just practicing a little bit of that non-attachment, to things, since the eclipse will be squaring Pluto and the sun squaring Pluto there around the Thursday time period. All right, so everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're not yet signed up for MTZ Insiders, it is a free newsletter where you do get these videos released first before YouTube and extra content not normally released on YouTube. So if you haven't yet signed up, it's absolutely free. There's a link to sign up down below. But again, have a great week, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.